The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so silent. Representatives from 47 species sat frozen in their seats. Their translator devices hummed softly in their ears. The holographic display at the center of the room showed a map of the galaxy. Red markers pulsed across 3 star systems that had been marked as disputed territory for over 2,000 years. Ambassador Krixtal of the Vorn Collective was the first to speak. His 4 mandibles clicked together nervously as he leaned forward in his elevated seat. This cannot be accurate. The humans only achieved faster than light travel 40 standard years ago. They cannot possibly have the infrastructure to colonize 3 systems simultaneously. The AI administrator of the council updated the display. New information scrolled across the bottom of the hologram. Colony ships numbered in the hundreds. Population transfers already underway. Mining operations beginning on 17 different moons and asteroids. The numbers were staggering. High Counselor Maveth of the Triumvirate pressed his long fingers against his temple. His silver skin reflected the blue light of the hologram. I have called this emergency session because we must respond. The humans did not request permission. They did not file territorial claims through proper channels. They simply announced what they had already done. Whispers spread through the chamber like wildfire. Species that had been enemies for millennia now exchanged worried glances. The Drexy ambassador shifted her massive bulk in her specially designed seat. Her species had been expanding slowly and carefully for 10,000 years. They had colonized 62 worlds in that time. The humans had matched nearly 5% of that achievement in less than half a century. Perhaps there is an error in the translation, suggested Ambassador Yulthrin of the Melodon Swarm. His compound eyes reflected hundreds of tiny versions of the hologram. Human communication is notoriously imprecise. They may be speaking of future plans rather than current actions. The chamber doors opened with a soft hiss. Every head turned to watch the human delegation enter. There were only 3 of them. This was unusual. Most species sent delegations of dozens or even hundreds to council meetings. The humans walked with a confidence that seemed entirely inappropriate for a species so young. The lead human was a woman with dark hair streaked with gray. Her name was Admiral Chun Wei-Lin. She had been born on Earth, but had spent most of her adult life in space. The other council members did not know this about her. They did not know that she had personally commanded the defense fleet during the Krixthar incident 7 years ago. They did not know that she had ordered the destruction of 47 warships to protect a human colony of only 3,000 people. Admiral Chun took her place at the human delegation's podium. She did not bow or offer the traditional greeting gestures that most species used. She simply stood there and waited for silence. High Counselor Maveth gestured for her to speak. Ambassador Chen, the council has convened to discuss your government's recent announcement. You have claimed 3 star systems that fall within disputed territory. Territory that has been contested by multiple species for over 2,000 years. We require an explanation. Admiral Chun smiled. It was a polite smile, but there was something behind her eyes that made several nearby ambassadors uncomfortable. With respect, High Counselor, we have not claimed anything. We have simply expanded into territory that was not being used. The disputes you mention are political disagreements between species that have never actually set foot in those systems. The chamber erupted in angry voices. The Vorn ambassador's mandibles clicked so rapidly that his translator could not keep up. The Drexy ambassador's rumbling objections shook the floor beneath nearby seats. Only the Melodon swarm remained quiet. Their species had learned long ago to observe before reacting. Admiral Chun waited. She did not raise her voice or attempt to speak over the noise. She simply stood there with her hands clasped behind her back. Eventually, the other ambassadors noticed her calm demeanor. One by one, they fell silent again. I understand that our actions have caused concern, Admiral Chun continued, but I would ask the Council to consider the facts. The Vorn and the Triumvirate have argued over the Kepler systems for 2,300 years. In all that time, neither species has established a single permanent settlement there. The resources of those systems have sat untouched while your diplomats debated ownership. Ambassador Krickstol stood up so quickly that he nearly knocked over his podium. Those systems are sacred to the Vorn people. Our ancestors traveled through that region during the Great Migration. We cannot allow them to be desecrated by alien colonizers. Admiral Chun nodded slowly. I have studied the Great Migration. Your ancestors passed through those systems approximately 4,000 years ago. They did not stop. They did not build anything. They simply traveled through on their way to your current homeworld. Is this correct? The Vorn ambassador hesitated. His mandibles stopped clicking. That is technically accurate. But the spiritual significance, with respect, Admiral Chun interrupted. Humanity does not recognize spiritual claims to territory. We recognize only physical presence and active use. If your people wish to establish shrines or memorials in those systems, we would be happy to discuss arrangements. But we will not abandon our colonies, because your ancestors once flew past those stars. High Counselor Mavith raised his hand for silence. His expression was troubled. Ambassador Chen, the Council has peacekeeping forces. We have protocols for dealing with unauthorized expansion. Are you aware of the potential consequences of your government's actions? Admiral Chun's smile faded. Something cold entered her voice. High Counselor, I have been authorized to share some information with the Council. Information that our government has kept classified until now. She pressed a button on her podium. The holographic display changed. It now showed a comparison chart. On one side were the combined military forces of the Galactic Council. On the other side were the military forces of humanity. The numbers were impossible. They had to be impossible. The Council had been formed specifically to prevent any single species from achieving military dominance. They had treaties and inspections and verification protocols. No species could build a fleet that large without being noticed. How is this possible? Whispered the Drexy ambassador. Her voice was barely audible despite her massive size. Admiral Chun zoomed in on a section of the chart. Humanity does not share your cultural attitudes toward military production. We do not limit our shipyards to maintain balance. We do not scrap older vessels to comply with treaty requirements. For the past 40 years, we have been building. The Meladine ambassador finally spoke. His voice was a chorus of harmonics that the translators struggled to process. You have violated the arms limitation protocols. Every species that joins the Council agrees to those protocols. This is grounds for sanctions. For military intervention. Admiral Chun shook her head. Read the protocols carefully, Ambassador. Humanity never signed them. We joined the Council as an observer species. We attended meetings. We participated in cultural exchanges. But we never ratified the arms agreements. Your predecessor ambassadors simply assumed that we had. The chamber fell into shocked silence. Representatives began frantically consulting their databases. They pulled up records from 4 decades of diplomatic interactions. The human ambassador was correct. Every document that should have contained humanity's signature on the arms limitation protocols was missing that signature. The humans had been present at every negotiation. They had nodded along with every discussion, but they had never actually agreed to anything. High Counselor Mavith stood up. His silver face had gone pale. This is deception on a galactic scale. You pretended to be our allies while building a war machine in secret. Admiral Chun's expression softened slightly. High Counselor, we are your allies. We have no desire for war. We have not attacked anyone. We have not threatened anyone. We have simply built the capacity to defend ourselves and to expand as we see fit. Is that not what every species does? Not like this, Mavith replied. His voice was barely controlled. Not in secret. not while participating in a council designed to prevent exactly this situation. Admiral Chun stepped forward. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "High Counselor, humanity has studied your council very carefully. We have learned your history. We know that the Vorn conquered 16 species before being stopped by a coalition. We know that the Triumvirate engineered a plague that killed billions of Drexy. We know that the Meladine swarm once consumed an entire inhabited planet for its biological resources. Every major species in this chamber has committed atrocities that would horrify my people. And yet, you sit here and lecture us about building ships." The silence that followed was profound. Admiral Chun looked around the chamber slowly. Her eyes met those of each ambassador in turn. "Humanity does not intend to follow your path. We will not conquer or exterminate. We will not enslave or consume. We will simply grow. We will fill the empty spaces of this galaxy with our children and our dreams. And if anyone tries to stop us, we will defend ourselves. That is the message I have been sent to deliver." The Vorn ambassador rose again. His earlier anger had been replaced by something more calculating. "And if the Council decides to take action? If we vote to impose sanctions or to authorize military intervention?" Admiral Chun's smile returned. It was the smile of someone who held all the cards and knew it. "Then I would remind the Council that we have not shared all of our information today. Our fleet numbers are accurate, but we have not discussed our defensive capabilities. We have not discussed our weapons research. We have not discussed the 17 other systems that we are currently surveying for expansion. The disputed territories were simply our announcement. Our way of introducing ourselves to the galactic community as equals rather than observers." She paused and let her words sink in. "The Council can debate emergency measures all at once. You can vote on sanctions that we will ignore. You can authorize military actions that would cost you far more than they would cost us. Or you can accept that humanity is here to stay. We are not asking for permission anymore. We are informing you of reality." High Counselor Maveth sank back into his seat. He looked older suddenly, more tired. The other ambassadors watched him for guidance, but he had none to give. The human delegation remained at their podium for another hour. They answered questions with the same calm confidence. They provided data that verified their claims. They offered trade agreements and mutual defense pacts that seemed almost generous considering the circumstances. By the time the emergency session ended, no votes had been taken on sanctions or military action. The Council had accomplished nothing except to learn exactly how badly they had underestimated the newest species in the galaxy. Admiral Chun walked out of the chamber with the same measured stride she had used to enter. Behind her, the representatives of 47 species sat in stunned silence. They had built their council to prevent any single species from rising to dominance. They had created protocols and treaties and agreements designed to maintain balance. They had never imagined that someone would simply choose not to play their game at all. Outside the chamber, one of Admiral Chun's aides fell into step beside her. "Do you think they believed our numbers, Admiral?" Chun smiled again. It was a private smile, meant only for her own people. It does not matter if they believe them. What matters is that they are afraid. Fear makes species cautious. Caution gives us time. And time is all we really need. She looked up through the transparent ceiling of the council station. Stars filled the sky in every direction. Each one was a potential home for humanity. Each one was a promise of futures yet to be written. The galaxy had spent thousands of years building walls and drawing lines. Humanity had spent 40 years building ships and dreaming of the spaces between those lines. The Council could debate emergency measures until the stars burned out. It would not change anything. Humanity had arrived, and they were not going to ask for permission.